He is the co-founder of Digilaw, and beyond that, I had the privilege of sharing 5 years with him at the Faculty of Law of Obafemi Awolowo University. Ladies and gentlemen, Akintunde Agunbiade. I like the way he's smiling. Aki, thank you so much for being on Echoes from Africa with us. I am really grateful. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here also.
I don't even know what to say, but I feel like we should give a shout out to the Maverick set, the fellow Maverick set. So shout out to you guys. Myself and Akintunde had our 5 years of undergraduate degree at the Faculty of Law. And, it was really an awesome time, awesome experience all around. Akintunde has gone on to start Digilaw, and he will be giving us, I'll still give him time to do that, he'll be giving us much more information on Digilaw as we go further. And I must say that there are other publications that Akintunde has released. Like, you need to see Akintunde write. You guys need to see Akintunde. Akintunde is someone I respect. I know this is not, someone will say, you have to do all of that. This is actually someone I 100% respect, and I follow his work back to back to back. So, Akintunde, once again, we really are grateful. Thank you for being on this with us. So, moving on, I will just give you the floor now so you can tell us a bit about Digilaw and what you guys do at Digilaw. So please, over to you. Thank you very much, Akin.
Okay, well, thank you, Onuche, for this platform and this opportunity. I do not take it for granted. And it was a pleasure through OAU and the five plus X years of strike and everything. But
yes, sir.
We came out at the other side of it, so yes, we thank God. So yes, I'm co-founder of Digilaw and currently the executive producer. So basically, what Digilaw is right now is a podcast network or a podcast production company. And we've pivoted from different things over the years, from being a blog to hosting online courses and classes to what we have currently focused on, which is podcasting. So we hit on podcasting as a business model in 2020, mid-2020, when we were like at the peak of the COVID lockdowns and everything. Now, at the time, I was in law school, and like most schools all over the world, everyone was forced to go remote. We were out of school, learning from home, and it wasn't convenient for most people learning from home at that point, especially for law school. It's supposed to be like a physical, interactive sort of thing. And law school provided online classes for all of us, but it was not convenient. I mean, you'd have like online classes where you have to download videos, and the videos could be like 150, 200 megabytes for each day, doing that kind of thing, Mondays to Fridays. So it wasn't convenient. So many people, including myself, couldn't follow up. Maybe we just downloaded the PDFs or the PowerPoints and just avoided the videos at times. So it was not a really convenient model, but I don't blame them. It was their first time at it. So it was like they were also learning on the go while we were also learning on the go in that form. But we needed something a lot more convenient. And then a colleague of mine, actually, a friend of mine, Victoria at the time, a colleague at that time, talked about if there was a podcast that could talk about what we're doing in law school. And the funny thing about it is that around that period, I have been looking for like, I need a new big idea for Digilaw. What can we do? And I prayed about it, and my mind was just like, I was trying to jot it down, but nothing really struck me like this is it. But I was just scrolling through Twitter one day, and then I saw a tweet, and then it just struck me, this is it. Like, this is something I can easily do. I have the skills for it. I can easily do this. And then I immediately messaged my partner that, hey, I should have tweeted that. Can we share like, yes, let's do this. And then in 2 weeks, we assembled a team, did designs, and we got started. And from like June 2021 till when the first season ended in March 2021, we had 50 episodes, over 5,000 downloads now, and we even secured a sponsor for it. So since then, we've moved on to working on creating new podcasts. So we have Data Protection 101, we have the Writer Source, and we have others that are currently in development that in the next few months will be out in public for everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Akintunde. Guys, what we're going to do is we're going to get the links to those podcasts, and we're going to put them in the description below. So please do well to connect with those things. I must say it was really, really awesome, even though I was on the group, a WhatsApp group, and I remember just as the law school had been completed, people were putting testimonies and were like, thanks to the podcast series that we had Akintunde was dropping and all of those things, they were really helpful and all those things. So for law school, I can really testify that those things were helpful. So people who are going to law school, if you're going to be going to law school, please make sure you check in the description. We're going to put all the links for Data Protection 101, for Writer's Source, every single thing. We put in the links down in the description. So please do well to connect. Thank you so much, Akintunde. You said something about how it felt like, okay, there was an issue here and there. Why is development in Africa difficult? Generally, it felt like we were not ready for. I know the whole world was pretty much caught unawares, but why is development in Africa particularly difficult? You see, it felt like we're behind. Literally, I know what people had to suffer concerning law school. Why are these things this difficult? Yeah.
Well, I believe the issue lies to the fact that we have not taken care of the basic fundamental things. I mean, in other parts of the world where when everywhere was on lockdown and schools had to go remote, they were not battling with issues like, oh, we don't have broadband internet, oh, we don't have affordable internet, we don't have a network infrastructure across the entire country. They didn't have those things. They already had the tools, they just had to repurpose them for online learning. They had all the basic infrastructure, but yet, I remember sometimes that, okay, I know there's someone I met in camp, the NYC camp, who told me that, okay, during the time of COVID lockdowns, he was in his village. So, and in his place, there was no network, so he could not even follow the class. So in other parts or more advanced parts of the world, where even if you are in a quote rural area of the countryside, you still have access to internet there. So we are still struggling with a lot of basic things. That is why it feels like, oh, something happens, we are caught unawares, and we have to like struggle to keep up the pace with other parts of the world. That's why we are literally the ones looking for subsidies or anyone to donate vaccines to us when other parts of the world are aggressively producing vaccines for their citizens. So we still struggle with a lot of basic things there. That's why it's like we are trying to catch up with the world on one hand and also trying to lay down the basic things at the same time. We are trying to do two things at the same time.
Okay. You see, every country has literally gone through a phase of development. As it is, whether China in the last 40 or so years ago, China was still developing and all of that. And well, will it be appropriate to, like, I think my question is basically, will it be appropriate to compare the pace of development in Africa with that of the West and other continents in their developmental stages? And how well are we doing? Because if you look at it, can you really compare, oh, China had to go through a phase. I know Africa may have leapfrogged some phases and all of that, but will it be appropriate to really compare the phases that we are going through, whatever it is, the stage we are going through, compared with the West and all of those people, and how well do you think we are doing as Africans, or Africa's continent?
Well, I don't think I really compare the phases that we are going through.
Yeah.
Okay. In the sense that, okay, yes, if you compare us with the West now, okay, countries like the USA and the UK, I believe that they had a lot of time to develop. There was really no pressure on them from anywhere. I might be wrong, but I don't think there's really much pressure. So if you study the US development story, the US really only got serious with development around after its civil war. That was like close to like 80 years after its independence. And when they really got serious about growing their economy and developing and everything. That's when they're saying like the westward expansion and expanding railways and all of that. So they had like let's say from the 1800s downwards into the first 20th century. So they had a lot of time to get their act together. They weren't in any form of hurry. But if you come down to China, after the Chinese Revolution in 1949 and the Communist Party came to power, China was still underdeveloped for close to like 20 years until Deng Xiaoping came to power in 1976. And then within the space of 20 years, they moved from being like one of the world's most poorest countries and they lifted 500 million people out of poverty. So they were able to compress what took the USA over 100 years into, let's say, 20, 30 years. That has had its own side consequences, but the fact is they did it. Other countries too did similar things. They didn't follow the Chinese model. South Korea did something similar. Japan rebuilt itself completely after World War II. The two Germanys rebuilt themselves after World War II. So many other countries have been able to find ways to compress what would have been let's say decades of development into the space of 2-3 decades. And you can't compare Africa to the West, but you can kind of compare countries in Africa to the Asian countries like China, Singapore, because we all got started around the same time, around the 1960s. And many will tell you that, okay, in the 60s and 70s, Nigeria was even a lot more developed than China. But at some point, I mean, we had a lot more resources than them. We had the oil resources, agricultural resources. But somehow, without all of those, they were still able to leapfrog. They were able to leapfrog where we were and go ahead of us. So I think the issue that we've had.
Sorry, I didn't get you. The last thing you said. You said somehow.
I was saying that okay, that somehow they've been able to leapfrog where we were and go ahead of us. So if you want to compare, you can say, okay, yes, it's easier to compare Africa or African countries with their Southeast Asian counterparts, China, Singapore, Malaysia, India, India, and those countries that, let's say, we started a development journey in the 60s together.
Sorry, can you hear me? I lost you there. You said it would be easier to compare what and what?
It would be much easier to compare African countries with their counterparts in Asia, like China, India, South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I want to ask you before we go, because I know one thing I have really enjoyed you talking about is artificial intelligence. One thing I have really always looked out for when Akintunde is talking is that I know he runs something where he does artificial intelligence 101 or something. That's your like personal 100 facts or
100 AI facts.
100 AI facts, 100 AI facts. Awesome. But before we do that, it can still come under that, but I want to ask you this particular question. Do we, as Africans, have relevant skills as regards or the relevant knowledge to thrive in the 21st century? As Africans, do we have the relevant knowledge to thrive in the 21st century?
I would say we have like I don't want to use the word excellent. I'll say that we have sufficient talent to thrive in the 21st century. But the problem is we don't have an enabling environment for that talent to add value to Africa. I mean, before I signed up to this session, I was just randomly scrolling through Twitter, and I know I saw like 2 or 3 people posting tweets of leaving Nigeria. Now, these people living
everybody's trying to japa.
The people living in Nigeria are not unqualified people like mechanics or bus conductors or random people. These are people who have definitely finished with a university degree somewhere, have some level of work experience. They have worked as management consultants or they've worked in as developers. So these are professionals. These are people who ideally, many of them would, if you, I know if you just speak to many people, they would prefer that they want to stay back in their own countries. Now, not just in Nigeria, no, it's many other African countries are faced with it. They prefer to stay back in their countries and add value to where they are, but they don't have that enabling environment. I remember where there's this particular person I talked to on LinkedIn. He's a Nigerian. He's a lawyer, but he practices in Belgium. So he posted something one time where he said that he wrote a paper on something, and he got a call from, I think, like a high-ranking government official in Belgium, and he said that there's something about living in a country where you are recognized on the basis of merit and your competence, where just doing hard work and just putting in the work gets you to get recognized for that. That is something that everybody should at least try to express at least once in their life. I don't feel like this is it. This is one of the fundamental reasons why I think it's one of the underlying reasons why a lot of Africans leave the continent, because merit and competence is something that we have not internalized in this part of the world. We are still held back by a lot of tribal sentiments and corruption and nepotism networks. So people who are qualified would prefer to move to other parts of the world where they know that if I work hard, I can get recognized. So it's not that, so like going back to your question, Africa has enough talent to thrive. We have the Nigerian community in the USA, at least unless statistics have changed. Last time I checked, they are the most educated, I think, foreign population or something like that.
Wow, that's
so, and these are, I think, one of the people who helped. I think was it in Pfizer, one of the companies that developed the COVID-19 vaccine. There was a Nigerian doctor who was part of their team. So I think the assistant secretary of commerce or one of those roles for the USA is a Nigerian American. One of the provinces in Canada has a Nigerian as attorney general. So it's not the case that African countries, these are people who left the country maybe 10, 20 years ago for some reason. People who could have been back home in Nigeria either as politicians or as business people or as deans in faculties but there's no enabling environment. The point is we don't have an enabling environment to retain talent. I mean, nobody expects that, Nigeria or Ghana or any African country should turn to an El Dorado in 1 year or 2 years. We know that there's going to be a building phase. But let's see that there's some kind of commitment from the leadership to, yes, we are doing this. We are gradually doing this. So yes, this is why I'm going to stay back, because my country is serious about proving itself. So let me stay back and
so that. Now moving towards I feel is the emerging tech basically that will have the most profound impact, not just Africa, all over the world, and over the next like 20 years. And it's really going to be impacting virtually every industry. We are talking of AI, we are talking blockchain. We're going to focus on AI, but when we're talking emerging techs, virtually every industry will be disrupted. Blockchain, all of those things. But I want us to stay. We're going to stay on AI. You can always make reference to other emerging tech, sure. But I want you to give us some info about artificial intelligence. I know there's AIG or AGI. That I was trying to get more knowledge on that. But then let's just give us what is artificial intelligence. What's AI about? Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So what you're trying to say there was AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is like, it's not yet achieved, but I'll explain that later. So basically, what is AI? I could give like a technical definition, but I like to keep it as simple as possible. So when I want to define AI, I know you have a broad listener base, but pardon me, but if I want to explain AI in a way that is really relatable, I would have to take reference to the Bible, if that's fine.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so it's a story that I think even Muslims can also relate to it, and so people from the Abrahamic line of religions. So I'm not really good with Bible verses, but we all know the creation story. God created the world and all of that, and then on the last and most important thing he created was the human beings. But what is really important for me in trying to relate this to AI is not what he did, but the way, but what he said. So, depending on whatever translation you say, basically it says that God said, "Let us create man in our own image, and it will be like us." So essentially, God was saying, we are going to create human beings. These human beings are going to be like us, me, God, the God entity, and will be like us. So that is God's goal there, was to create a physical form of himself that replicated him in all ramifications. That is essentially what AI is in relation to human beings. AI is basically us trying to create something that replicates us in all ramifications. If you go back to when the discipline was founded in 1956, that was exactly what the founders said, something like that, that the goal here is to replicate all forms of knowledge. Something about replicating all forms of knowledge in a way that it can be duplicated and replicated, something like that. So that's essentially what AI is about. Anything that human beings can do can be systematized and put into a machine that can replicate it and probably do it a lot more efficiently.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I really like that the comparison we made there, and it's really, really awesome. I think the fear is, well, we'll go to the fears. We'll go to the fears. But most certainly there are the advantages and then there are the disadvantages.
yeah.
I know for you have a wider knowledge of it. So certainly, like you already said, things are going to be done more efficiently, things are going to be done faster. I don't know if you know Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku is one of the biggest physicists, and he was talking about people like when it comes to repetitive jobs, those are the kind of jobs. When it comes to middlemen, those are the kind of places that AI could fit into perfectly and all of those things. But he was talking about AI more in a negative light. So if you can walk us through advantages and disadvantages, because like I've already said, one of the advantages is such that the number of able to be done more efficiently and possibly even like better. That's the reality than we would do. So walk us through a number of these advantages and disadvantages that you feel you'd experience as regards AI, not just as Africans, but on a general scale. That's the reality, because it's not just affecting Africa, it's affecting every single country in the world and across every industry.
Okay. So first thing I would like to point out that AI does not have inherent advantages or disadvantages. It is, it's a neutral technology. The disadvantages that people impose on it are as a result of those in control of it. So it's like saying that electricity has advantages and disadvantages. Because AI is a general purpose technology, just like electricity or the internal combustion engine. You can't say that electricity is bad or electricity is good. I mean, we're having this conversation because of electricity. So, but at the same time, electricity is also used to kill people, was used to kill people where they had the electric chair. So that was just a bad use of electricity, not that electricity was bad in itself. So internal combustion engines power cars and trains and all of that, but they could also power what I don't know what name of this thing that they use in war, tanks. Okay, so in that sense, the use of the technology is what determines what is good about it. Not that AI is bad or good. So the disadvantages of AI is because of how it is used or how people choose to apply it in that context. So going back to what the person you referred to, that yes, AI would lead to loss of jobs. Yes, true. There is no technology that has been disrupted that has not led to, that not significantly reshaped the economy and eliminated jobs. Electricity eliminated the jobs of people who maintained kerosene lamps in the US. Before electricity became the power standard, crude oil was the power standard. It is still dominant today, but before it was a lot more dominant when it comes to powering, putting lights in everywhere. But when electricity came on board, people who maintained kerosene lamps that lit up the streets found themselves out of jobs. But did that mean they didn't find anything else? No. But electricity created a lot more jobs. It created jobs for people who could develop the wiring, develop jobs for people who could maintain the lamp, people who could develop engines that could turbines that could convert from one form of energy to another energy, to whether it was wind they were tapping or water they were tapping or coal they were tapping to create energy. So yes, AI would eliminate a lot of repetitive jobs, like jobs of people who let me say, for instance, now let's say, for what's the example of a very repetitive job, let's say driving now, because of things like self-driving cars and self-driving trucks. But at the same time, it also creates more jobs. Because take, for instance, now, in the UK, I know that they started testing self-driving trucks like around 2018, 2017. So, but it does not, they are not completely limited the need for people who would maintain those trucks.
Yeah.
Because while you can have self-driving trucks, you also need to have someone who will train those trucks. So the thing with AI is that it's creating new jobs, but the challenge is, are we training people quickly enough to take on the roles that it is creating? So you need people who can train algorithms. You need people who can work as care workers in that sense. Because AI has created a lot of opportunities for remote care. You need people who have technical skills to take on the new role. Like I was talking to a friend who is involved, who is really passionate about cooking and all of that. And it was just a random idea. It just comes to my head that, wait, a lot of people don't like cooking, or they're not really good
I
at
like cooking though.
Either they don't cook, they're not really good at it.
Yeah.
And they know something that would help them to cook better. So it just comes to my head that, wait, you could develop like an app using image recognition technology that's under AI, where, let's say I am in a party now, or I visit a friend, and I'm like, wow, this your soup really looks really nice. So what did you use to prepare it? And I take a picture of it. And then using that app, or operating the app can then analyze the image of it and then provide me with a breakdown of everything that was used to prepare it, and then possibly provide me with access to a menu or in the recipe of how it is prepared. So normally, one of the aspects where cooking is one of the is a routine that people say that, oh, can be automated by using artificial intelligence. And in that same vein, it can also be used to create new opportunities, because now it is in expanding access to what you say culinary knowledge. So I can open that app. What would you need to? What would you need to build that kind of app? Now, you will need people to sort through images, because okay, now you're a human being now. You only need to look at a goosey soup once or twice to know this is a goosey soup. You only said once, and you know what a goosey soup is. You only need to look at boiled rice, white rice. Okay, this is white rice. This is jollof rice. This is fried. It's not the same as artificial intelligence. If you want to train an image recognition model to recognize a goosey soup, You have to give it probably close to thousands of images of egusi soup. So they can accurately say that this is egusi soup, this is jollof rice, this is fried rice, this is spaghetti. So you need people on one hand. It's going to create a place for people who can sort through all those images and say, this type this image as egusi, 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 not egusi, 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 not egusi. Type it like that, and then use it to train that model. That's on one hand. You'll also need.
I know. Okay, are you with me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Sorry, you're speaking.
Yeah. So apart from people who work on the image recognition part, you also need people who can also work on building those models, building the machine learning models that will be trained on those images.
So I think one of the things I was going to ask, but then you have pretty much addressed it, because I was saying something like, with the dawn of AI at our doorstep and in our daily routine, is Africa ready to be part of the defining? Is Africa ready to be part of defining the future? And can we afford to not be part of it? And because you have said something about how, oh yes, you have all the skills to thrive and all of those things, but the reality is the environment. But the truth is, do you think it will get to the point where the people who kind of lead us will come to the point where they understand that this is the way to go? And is that time going to come really soon? Because a number of the clampdowns and a number of these issues that they have as regards tech companies, well, more, I would say more fintech right now. Yeah. But I feel, do you think it's going to be really adopted? What do you feel? Is it going to be easily adopted, like a number of these developments, especially as regards to AI? Because one thing, Africans can be really suspicious. Africans can be really sentimental when it comes to a number of things. So what do you think? Do you think that this is something that will be received with open arms, this particular environment as it is?
I think that when it comes to adoption of emerging technologies and AI, I think we are going to see uneven levels of adoption across Africa. There are some countries that are a lot more aggressive about making efforts to catch up and trying to open themselves to the rest of the world. Like, when you asked the question, I remembered something that happened in, I think it was 2019. I think it was 2019, where the World Economic Forum published a kind of like a guide for public procurement of AI. So it's like something that countries can use, if governments of countries can use, where they want to procure AI technologies for using for public purposes. So I downloaded the document and I tried to reach out to like the person who was in charge of the project. So, and I noticed that, okay, in working on the project, they referred to some countries that they worked with. And I noticed that there was no African country. So I just said, okay, let me just ask the man, okay, why wasn't there any African country? So he told me that, okay, yes, they reached out to several African countries in the course of trying to work on projects, but that only like 2 or 3 countries go back to them about what they were doing. And I think one of the ones, I think he mentioned Rwanda. I can't remember the other. I don't want to make mistakes about mentioning countries that were not mentioned, but I know that specifically he mentioned Rwanda. I can't remember the other countries he mentioned. It's been a while. So there are uneven levels of adoption when it comes to moving towards emerging technologies. Countries like Rwanda are making a lot more strides. Kenya is making good effort, Botswana, Egypt, South Africa, to a good extent. Yeah, so it's not a historic case for them. It's not a historic case for the entire continent. They have
our dear country, Nigeria.
Well, we're not one of those countries that go back to the World Economic Forum about that thing. But I think that in Nigeria, how would I say when it comes to AI, there are efforts would I say, more like there seem to be lip service efforts, but they have not really created a fruition. And take, for instance, now, in 2020, they created the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics in Nigeria, which is somewhat running. But a few weeks ago, I learned that there's a bill again to create another AI center, which would now, the one I mentioned, the National Center for AI and Robotics, is under the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy.
Yeah.
Now, this one that they want to create looks like it's going to be under the Ministry of Science and Technology. So when it comes to AI, at least within Nigeria, from a government perspective, we are not coordinated. Because if we're coordinated, it doesn't make sense. Okay, why are you trying to create two distinct AI bodies within the same country? And if you study the bill for the one they want to create, it's basically want to carry out what this one in essence already created. So why not just take the one you already have, create a bill towards it and strengthen it instead of trying to duplicate efforts across two ministries. So from that perspective, we have not really gotten started yet, and it feels like in the point that in many other countries now, whether you go to the USA or Canada or China or any country that yes, we want to start taking AI seriously, they most of them did not start from let's create an agency for it. They started from let us study this thing first of all, and what is it in the first place? So they will put together a team of experts to do research on it and give them like a report that this is what artificial intelligence is. This is how it can be applied in different aspects of our country, for agriculture, for education, for transportation. Wow. This is how it is. These are the dangers of it. These are our recommendations for how the government can tackle it. And then the government then say that, come up with their own white paper and then put that out and then use that to develop a plan for AI. So yeah, we are not doing any of that. There are no plans unless they have not announced it yet. But I mean, it's a space I work in, so I have to routinely do research in this thing, and there has been nothing about government trying to understand AI locally. Even the body that they set up has not done that yet. Because let's say they set up this National Center for AI and Robotics, so let them be in charge of that, but they've not done that yet. So
yeah, please continue. Just continue. Please.
So in that sense, Africa is not yet there's another thing, I mean, I think it was early this year or late last year? I think it was early this year, where the United Nations, in collaboration with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, supported the development of the African Artificial Intelligence Research Center, which will be in Congo Brazzaville. So it feels like it's a commendable effort, yes. So an AI center that for the entire continent. But in this sense, it feels like it is now the world that's setting the agenda for us, not we setting our own agenda when it comes to AI. It is the UN that is intervening to try to give us some kind of continent-wide coordination when it comes to AI. Nobody did that for the EU. It was the EU that recognized the risks and opportunities in AI and have repeatedly come out with. When it comes to legislation as regards AI, the EU is like the best place to go to. Several laws and regulations regarding several aspects of AI. So the UN did not have to go there to do that for them. The UN did not have to go to Canada or to USA or to China to do it for them. All those parts of the world did it for themselves. But in this part of the world, we have like I said, I know it's not a bad thing. If we can completely take ownership of it, we can still use it to our own advantage. But it just shows that we have not yet developed that kind of real political initiative to take the bull by the horn without international intervention to help us recognize opportunities in that sense. Because I mean, let's take for instance now. This is outside artificial intelligence now. Go to what's the word now? Electric cars, which are another aspect of emerging technologies. Now, the electric cars basically the batteries run on lithium. Lithium is what powers our phones and everything, laptops and everything. And we have one of the world's biggest reserves of lithium in Congo DRC. And it is other parts of the world that are fighting aggressively to have access to the lithium in Congo DRC. The Congo is growing, yes, but how much of that growth is staying in the country? Has any country said, has any company said, oh, we are going to set up an assembly plant of electric cars in Congo Brazzaville? Congo DRC, sorry. So what is anybody doing about that? So how is the lithium in?
We lost you there for some time. We're talking about how, this lithium was gotten from Congo DRC, but we have never really spoken about having to set up a number of these factories at that location.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, now, continue, please. Continue. I'm absolutely still very much with you.
So what I was basically saying is that we have not really shown that kind of, let's say, political or leadership initiative to take ownership of those resources and make sure that they add value to the people where those resources are taken from. So we've mostly been satisfied with operating at the primary level of production, and that's the value. At that level is really where there's no value, in all honesty. I mean, I saw some stats where they said that, okay, the top 5 producers of cocoa in the world, and 4 of them are from Africa. You have Ivory Coast, you have then Ivory Coast followed by Ghana. Then I think Nigeria is number 3 or number 4. Then I think Indonesia is number 5 or something. And what the Ivory Coast produces is like almost in the thing of like over 2 million metric tons, even at times 4 what Ghana, whatever Nigeria produces. But at the end of the day, the real value chain when it comes to cocoa is not controlled by Ivory Coast. It's controlled in Switzerland, where chocolate, which like the hub for chocolate production. I know that late last year, Ivory Coast and Ghana tried to do something. They tried to increase their tariff for cocoa exports. But for me, that's like a low-level strategy, in all honesty. Because if you are the only thing you are not trying to extract more tax revenue from exports of raw cocoa, but not adding any value to it. You're not trying to set up your own cocoa factories to compete with those ones. Because I mean, you have like the entire continent where a lot of people would really want to consume cocoa-based products, but nobody's doing that seriously.
Sure. That's very right. Thank you very much, Akin. I think I'm gonna have about like 2 more questions. But then I would let's say 3. Is Africa going to, because you were saying something, you kind of addressed it as an issue. Are we going to be able to adjust as fast as AI is developing? I don't know if the question is clear. Are we going to be able to make it or train ourselves as fast as AI is developing? I don't know if that question is clear enough.
So if I get you, you're saying, can we keep pace with the space of AI development?
Yes. Are we going to be ahead of it in that regard?
So what I was saying last night, there's no nation that can say that, oh, they have AI on lockdown or any other form of emerging technology. Everyone is still basically learning, but Africa has a lot more catching up to do than other parts of the world, because we are still struggling with a lot of basic things. Like I was reflecting at some point early this year where I thought that, wait, as much as we really want to encourage adoption of AI, blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality,
I remember you saying that.
all those things. We are still struggling with a lot of basic things. One thing, you cannot talk about AI without power and telecoms. Because it's easy to take those things for granted if you are talking about, oh, we are trying to build a model that can build, you want to build powerful models like GPT-3 or those kinds of things. But GPT-3 runs on internet. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
If you are still struggling with broadband internet, how do you want to train a model that will be able to score through maybe score through millions of text, millions of medical text, and tell you, okay, this is a diagnosis, this is what is wrong with you. How do you want to build that kind of thing locally when you have power outages, frequent power outages? I mean, let's say what's of blockchain? I mean, the people say that, oh, Nigeria is like the hub for one of the leading countries in Bitcoin adoption.
Yeah, I think the second or so.
Yes, but all we do is trading. We don't mine. We cannot mine in Nigeria. We don't have the power to run it. So, and the point is the real value when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is at the mining stage. Because all you are trading in Africa is what someone has already mined and has sold on to you. He has already gotten the real value from it. And countries where people really do serious mining before was China, before they started cracking down on it in China. And they have Iceland now. And countries that have like excess, it's mostly in parts where they have excess electricity supply. That's where they can easily sell it to people who want to get involved in cryptocurrency mining. But we don't even have enough, not even having excess there. So we still have a lot of basic things that we need to work on. Power infrastructure, telecoms infrastructure, before we can say, oh, we want to really take on the digital economy.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the people who are going to be getting involved, like the people we said, like all these repetitive jobs and all of those things. Well, as much as I want to ask if the fears concerning AI are valid, I want you to just walk us through a number of these industries or a number of opportunities that are available when it comes to AI. I know it's in farming, in education, and then a number of other things. So can you just walk us through? I think we're already talking about cars. I think self-driving cars and all of those things. So just walk us through a number of opportunities. I know they are vast. So any opportunities, just in case someone is going to be watching and like, okay, I want to go into AI, I want to focus on a particular thing. Just walk us through a number of valid opportunities.
Okay, it feels like that's a two-part question. First about the fears and then the opportunities in AI.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay. So let me tackle the fears part. So there are a lot of fears about AI technology, like, okay, you really take away jobs. There are issues as regards bias in AI, which I've done research in. There are issues as regards privacy. So I'll just try to touch on them as briefly as I can. AI there's no shying away from that fact. AI will eliminate certain tasks, but it will create more jobs than it eliminates. For every job it's going to eliminate, it's going to create at least two more to take its place. But the question is that it's going to require new skill sets to take on those roles. So you're going to need people who are not necessarily not even the fact that not even that you're going to need, oh, so a lot of people think that, oh, if I'm going to get involved in AI, then I must know how to code. I must work on my Python and my R and my Golang and all those programming languages. It's not the case. Not everybody has to be a programmer to get involved in artificial intelligence. It's not the case. There's this podcast I listened to, I think Your listeners can also look for it. It's the AI in Consulting podcast. The host of the podcast, his background is martial arts. That's what he
Sorry,
was
you
doing.
said there's this. You said there's this one podcast. I didn't get what you said there.
The AI in Consulting podcasts. Your listeners can look for it
Okay.
also. The host of that podcast he's the founder of like an AI market research company. So what the company does is they do research on they consult to companies on how they can get involved, adopt AI in their operations. And he does not know how to code. His background was martial arts. That was what he was doing. He was a martial arts instructor. So he doesn't know today. He does not know how to write a line of code. All he did was personal study, doing a lot of research, learning it for himself, to the point where he could advise, okay, yes, you are involved in automotive. This is how you can adopt AI. You are involved in finance. This is how you can adopt AI. Basically, a consultant. So so not everybody must get involved in AI. Let me rack up my numbers on GitHub or not everybody has to become a programmer to get involved in AI. Not that, yeah, programming skills are important, but the point is play to your strengths. That's on one hand. For the jobs the AI will create, it is still going to create roles that require non-programmers. AI will still need people who are, what's the word now? You will still need people who can understand, okay, how can you work in policy in this space? AI will still need people who are involved in arts. Like, okay, let's say for instance, now there's this technology now where it's called I don't know the name of it, where I'm sure you might have heard of deep fake technology now, where you can use it to develop a fake image of anybody, and make it look like the person is talking. And we've used it to develop deep fakes of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, many Kim Kardashian, many prominent people, and then you think that they are those actually saying this when it was a deep fake. So doing those kinds of things, they've also done deep fakes of real artworks now. Now, you still need people, and there are certain people who are like really skilled in identifying or differentiating between, okay, this is the real, this is the fake. You don't need programming skills to do that. You just need whatever skills you have in that domain, whether it's like forensic or any kind of analysis. That's not coding, that's not programming. That's not you huddled behind the computer trying to decipher code. You still need consultants in this space. Like, okay, there are people who are doing research. Okay, how does AI affect women's rights? So people with conventional backgrounds in human rights can still get involved in that trend because there are real issues. But there are issues like in bias now. That's another issue as artificial intelligence, where you have let's say for instance, there's this lady that doing really great work. People can check out Joy Bolamwini, where she said that when she was working within, she was trying to develop, working in a research company or something, that she had to wear, she was working on an image recognition system, and she found that the system could not recognize her face, but she had to wear a white mask so that it could recognize her. So somehow, when I developed that system, the system had the issue of it could only recognize Caucasian faces. That means it could not easily recognize African faces or Asian faces. So you need people who are experts in working with, okay, analyzing data set. Okay, yes, this data set, this was AI is built on data. This data set you are working with does not have sufficient data from people from the African American community, or do not have enough representing enough women so that it's inclusive enough. That is not something that is exactly, yes. You need people who can tell the programmer that, yes, these are the kind of things you should factor when you are working on developing these algorithms. Now, because developers they might not take cognizance of those things, but you, because of your background in policy or in regulation, you know that those things are important. or the person I made mention of, the consultant. So somebody who already has a background in consulting for companies, whether for a big four or any other kind of consulting company, stack knowledge of research on what AI research on what you do, and you could easily become an AI consultant or a big data consultant to companies that are in that space. So it's not the case that everybody must learn how to code. So it's something that you can learn on your own or carve a niche for yourself. And then I think I'm reading about the opportunities, and then I'm really talking about the opportunities in a way.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
In the space now, like the biggest space, I think it will depend on the society where you are now. Like at least for Nigeria now, like one of the biggest tech spaces for us is fintech. So you can easily talk about how AI can work in financial services for helping people to, like let's take for instance, we have a lot of apps now that people can use to get loans that in less than 5 minutes. So you just submit your name, maybe your BVN details, your identification, and then it analyzes your data, and then it returns, okay, this is how much you're eligible for. Now, typically it can be small amounts, so as the more you pay back what you borrowed, your credit rating increases. Now, left to the conventional banking system, people couldn't get those kinds of loans. But thanks to those apps, you can get those kinds of loans. Now, what people don't realize is that underlying that artificial intelligence. So the system that is able to analyze the data from your previous banking history and other kinds of things. Yes, this is how much this person is eligible for. There's an algorithm behind that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. Okay, yes, I could, if you learn how to code in that, if you want to take the coding track, okay, yes, how can I develop an app that can give credit ratings to people based on their social media history or their financial history? If you want to take the non-coding track of that, there's the part of, okay, yes, you develop this algorithm, but is it fair to everyone? Because there might be issues with that thing where it gives somebody a kind of unfair rating. So let's take, for instance, now, somebody who has been outside of the financial system for a very long time. Okay, now let's say people like me and you now, before fintech came, we already used bank accounts. So we already had a sort of robust financial history. So if we take that financial history and put it on an app that wants to give me a loan, it has sufficient data that it can use to decipher, okay, this is my financial patterns and this is how much this person can easily repay. But let's say someone who has been offline, or in that sense, just opened their first bank account 1 or 2 months ago.
Sorry, I don't think I got you there. I think I lost you there. You said if we take that financial history and we put it,
yes, and use that and use an algorithm like to analyze that to give ratings, okay, how much this person can borrow, how much we can lend this person. So because we had a financial history, but take somebody else and probably from the rural area who does not have that kind of financial history, who maybe just opened their first bank account because there was a POS that just opened in their area, and the person now wants to get a loan from these apps. The person does not have sufficient financial history. So because of that, the algorithm can say, oh, this person is not eligible for a loan, simply because the person does not have adequate financial history. But the person has been spending money earlier than that. He just has not been on grid in that sense. So these are issues that somebody with a non-coding background can say, okay, yes, how do we solve these issues? How do we cater for people who are probably not as exposed or who are not as fully involved in the internet economy as other people? So like I said, AI is built on this, and this data is mostly collected from people's online activities. But we have large amounts of population who are offline. If the number is reducing gradually, we still have large numbers of people who are completely offline. So how do we develop systems to ensure that we do not unconsciously discriminate against those people who do not have access to the internet facilities that allow them to participate fully. Or let's take the legal space, for instance, now.
Exactly. I was going to ask you in that line. That was one of my next questions in legal space.
There are over 1 billion people on this planet who have unmet justice needs. So over 1 billion people who cannot access
present.
I mean, who cannot access legal service, either they cannot afford a lawyer or they live too far away from where there's a courtroom. So because of where they are on the station, they cannot access legal services in that sense. But at the same time, you have a large proportion of legal professionals who can offer their services. So it's like there's a gap. You have this large army of legal professionals who, in many cases, are either stuck doing routine stuff, or many of them are either underemployed or have left the profession to do other things because they're not adequate employment opportunities. And at the same time, you have this large army of people who need legal services but they cannot access it. So if you could build a technology now that could bridge the gap between these people. I know we have somebody in that space in Nigeria. I think that's a legal, what their name is, legal Niger. So they have like this kind, it's like a platform now where lawyers can create an account and then clients can go there. This is what they need, and then they get in contact with you and you help them to resolve their issues now. So to do that kind of thing, you need you need a legal background to be able to come up with that kind of idea, to do that kind of thing. But you also need someone who's probably like who can work on the coding part of it. You want to stack AI on that, okay? You might need, this person is let's say I have issues with my landlord now, or maybe house rent issues or that kind of thing. If you are living in Lagos, so it's a common thing for people who live in Lagos, landlords who say that okay, they don't want to give houses to somebody from a particular tribe, a particular religion, or somebody from a particular age grade or something like that. So this is basically a discrimination issue. That's what it is essentially. You are discriminating against people on the basis of their gender or tribe or that kind of thing or their profession. Now, lots of people do not really know, okay, what can I do in that situation? But if I could, as easily as I can go on Google to search, go on a particular app and type, okay, this landlord does not want to give me this house because I am Igbo or because I am a lawyer or because I'm a woman. Type that thing. And then the algorithm that is in that system will then analyze my statement, what I have said, and then sort that in line with the profiles of legal professionals signed up to that platform. So let's say as a lawyer, you have signed up, okay, yes, my areas of specialization are employment law, family law, labor law, tenancy law. So, and I am based in Lagos. So this lady is searching on this platform that, okay, yes, the landlord does not want to give me this house because I am a woman. So says it now, okay, using natural language processing, landlords, Lagos, woman, then try to sort it with lawyers who are specialized in issues that relates to tenancy, women's rights, and then gives that lady, yes, these are the list of lawyers whose profiles match your issue. So she then goes through, and they're also within your area, they're in Lagos. She then goes to her, okay, yes, which of them do I prefer the most? And then she picks one and then it connects both of them. So that is AI using natural language processing and using search to connect someone who needs legal services to someone who is available to provide services.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, please speak on each. I can give you some more time because I have truly enjoyed this, and Lord knows, if you guys watching this, you may not know this, but the time, they will reveal the time to them so that they know what time we're recording. This is 11:15 p.m. This is 11:15 p.m. and I must say this is really awesome. We are recording and I'm mind blown. I'm totally enjoying myself on this. I think one of the last questions I would just ask you as we round off is on solutions. What do you think we can really do? I know you've spoken about how there was no need for us to really create another or another organization to really cater for AI and all of that stuff. I want you to just really give us one or two solutions, one when you feel okay as regards AI. Because when we're talking of tech, when we're talking of emerging tech, we can sit down for, imagine this is just AI and we are still even scratching the surface and we have spoken for this long. I'm sure if we sat down to really talk about emerging tech, I'm sure we can do like a whole conference of like 4 or 5 days on it to really dissect emerging tech. So from you, for someone who has really understood this and who is still understanding, can you tell us what you feel we can really do as a country, as a continent, to really get in the game of AI as it is?
Okay. Yeah, so when it comes to how we can get AI right in Nigeria, I would go back to saying that we cannot just pursue AI expansion. That at the same time where we are trying to build capacity in AI, we also need to build capacity in those fundamental things. So like I said, we're going back to power and telecoms. If we want to really, really make great strides when it comes to AI and really, because the fact is there's a lot of gap that we have a lot of catching up to do. And if we want to, and we need to really get power and telecoms right, because those two are like really, they are like the backbone of the digital economy. Anything that's digital runs on electricity and telecoms infrastructure, internet infrastructure. If you don't have complete total broadband access in a country, like how do you want to do, like there was this meme this meme I saw, like, okay, somebody put a question on Twitter, why don't we have telemedicine in Africa? That I mean, why can't we have, okay, yes, a doctor in Lasuth or any country in Nigeria connected to a doctor in the USA, and doctor in the USA is giving instructions to the doctor, okay, this is how you are going to carry out this kind of thing. It makes a lot of sense. And yeah, this makes a lot of sense and all of that. But how do you do that without good internet? And then somebody responded to me that, don't try it in Nigeria. Because if you try it in Nigeria, very will tell us that, see, the Nigerian doctor will tell you, see, I've caught the liver. See, liver. So, because of network issues.
Yeah.
It sounds really funny, but it could happen.
Sure, imagine even just having to communicate. Imagine the network issues that have been going on. We were just trying to get this meeting successful. Yeah.
So imagine using this kind of network for a health system. Someone's life is at risk on the table. Imagine using this kind of thing. So that's why I think it goes down to those basic things, whether it is AI, blockchain, any emerging technology, anything like digital economy. We must get power and telecoms rights. We must have total broadband access in Nigeria, in all parts of Nigeria, rural, urban, anywhere. I should not, like, one of the reasons why, okay, my parents live in the rural part of Ogun State. I don't usually like going home a lot, because I know that anytime I go there, I'm more or less cut off from the rest of the world. It's because of how network access is in that place. The only network provider that is reliable there is MTN. All the others are completely absent in that place. So until we have
I hope an MTN official will watch this, and then they can go and really make things even better, or maybe the other network. So I'm with you. Sorry, until we have. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. So that's my point. Whatever we want to do in any emerging technology, we have to get power right. So, and the thing is, we don't really need. Anyway, I don't work in that space. So
the issues with power and telecoms in Nigeria are not. It's the issue is just political will. They are not things that they are not insurmountable problems. It's just political will. Because I mean, what will it take to see that okay? What would it take to say, okay, yes, we have certain places in Nigeria that have higher economic activity, places like Lagos, places like Aba, places like Ibadan, places like Kano. These are like economic clusters where these places consume more electricity than other places. What would it cost to say, okay, yes, to set up independent power plants in those places, remove those places from the national grid in a gradual process, not one overnight, and just give them their own dedicated power plants, dedicated to the Lagos mainland axis, Lagos Island axis. Because I mean, it makes no sense. Anytime I'm passing by, I have to go from the mainland to the island. I just see the water. Like it does not make sense. You have all this water around Lagos, and this city is not using this water to generate electricity. It doesn't make sense. Even if it's like basic 1 megawatt power plants, water turbines that can generate electricity around those areas, it makes no sense that I think the wind energy, I think they said the wind energy in Africa, I think they said that can power the continent over 250 times over. Is it 250 or 25 times over? Just the wind energy in Africa alone is enough to power, it's not power for not just us, but the entire continent. And we have the north there, which is what stops is expansive wind turbines in Kano State. That's my point. Take those economic clusters and give them their own dedicated power plants, and then take the national grid where we have the rest of the national grid, and then use that power supply and redirect to other less developed areas. So to ramp up access to power in those places. For telecoms now, yes, if it's telecoms now, expand the space now. Like we have issues. One of the issues we have in telecoms is right of way. That's for before anybody can build a mast or lay any meter of cable in any part of Nigeria, you must pay something they call right of way to state governments.
Yes.
Now the rate varies from state to state. Now the current minister of communication has been trying to work with several states to reduce their rates to one that is really low, and only like 7 states have reduced theirs. So states like Lagos, Kwara, Lagos, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Lagos has reduced theirs. I think Lagos. I'm not too sure on that. I know that Kaduna has reduced, Kwara has reduced. Several like Ekiti State has reduced. Some states even completely scrapped. Like Kaduna State completely scrapped theirs. So the state like Ogun State, whether you have to pay like 4,500 naira to lay like whether like a meter or something of cable. So and these telecoms companies have to factor these things in their cost of operations. So if it is very expensive to lay cable in a state, then that is why in my own Ogun State, that's why network is not so good in that place, because it is too expensive for them compared to laying that same cable in Ekiti State. So if those rates were either substantially reduced or completely waived, telecoms companies will be much more encouraged to expand their infrastructure, build more masts, lay more cable to other parts of the country. Another thing they could also do is encourage undersea cables to burst in other parts of Nigeria. And I'll explain. A lot of broadband internet is usually built on a fiber optic cable that come from other parts of the world to Africa. Now, most undersea cables birth in Lagos. So when those cables come from Portugal or from the USA, from Canada, they birth somewhere in Lagos. And from there, that other networks then tap to spread to other parts of Nigeria. I think there's a particular project now. I think it's the Equiano from Google that they want to cable in Southeast Nigeria, which is like the very first of its kind. So if you have intentional policies that okay, yes, instead of concentrating network access to just Lagos, to other parts of the coastal part of Nigeria, so Ogun State coast, Ondo State coast, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, other coastal parts. That way, you will encourage, that way you increase network bandwidth in other parts of Nigeria, and then we can then be extended to the interland parts, even to northern Nigeria. So another thing is then we also have this issue of insecurity, because that's another thing that we can't ignore. That I saw in the news today that they want to extend the shutdown of a network in Zamfara for like another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Although they are doing it to cut the communication of bandits and all of that, but the fact is that it has consequences for telecoms operators, because this is a disincentive for them. Because the fact is they are running a business. Yeah. If you can just order them to shut down their masts in those parts and they must comply, it also means that they will not be encouraged to go back there even after insurgency is over. Hopefully one day we can say it is over, we can put it as a past. They will not be encouraged to go back there to invest, because a lot of economic activities have gone down there. People are living in Zamfara state to go to neighboring state to make calls. So what's the incentive to go there to expand my network infrastructure? It's not a charity, it's a business, it's for profits. And then another thing is also like expanding the democratic space. Because I mean, right now we use VPN to access Twitter. And the fact
I've still been so scared of getting on Twitter.
So the fact is that these telecoms companies, now whether we like it or not, usage of Twitter has reduced. Yes, even though people, not everyone has the energy to use it. I know that, yes, I don't have the energy to switch on my VPN every time, so my Twitter usage has dropped really significantly. And that means it's a significant drop in data revenues for telecoms operators. Drop in revenue means that they make less profit. Less profit means that they have less incentive to invest in infrastructure. So the fact is, you cannot isolate how expansive democratic rights are from economic development. As long as you are trying to run a capitalist economic system, you must have open democracy. We are not trying to run the Chinese model here, unless you want to take a sharp pivot to China. But as long as you are trying to run a market capitalism, you must have open democracy. So things like banning social media, trying to restrict social media. And if you can't do that and think you're going to have economic development, it won't happen. The people who are going to invest in your country, they see that you ban Twitter. If you ban Twitter, what stops you from, Lagos State government woke up one day and banned Gokada and all of them from one day to the next. That was really draconian, and it's not a democratic action, not something that you do in a place that claims to be a democracy. So, so whether we are talking, so that means we have like three basic things that we have to tackle: power, telecoms, and democracy. I don't know how I jumped to this, but you just talking like, yes, those are like three basic things. Before, okay, and let's assume we are tackling those things. We are tackling power, telecom, and democracy. So now get back to artificial intelligence. So like I said earlier, we need to decide what we want to use AI to do. So what have other nations done? What did the USA or the UK or China or any other nation that is doing something in AI, what did they do? They sat down to first of all study it as a government. This is this technology. What is it for? How do we view it? Because the fact is, okay, in the course of my research, I've had to study different documents, and I found that the way China views AI is different from the way Germany views AI, different from the way the USA views AI. You study the way USA views AI as a competitive advantage, something that they can use to maintain their lead and to prevent China from taking over from them. China sees AI from the aspect of a tool for entrenching social order and also as a tool for upstaging the USA. Countries in the EU, Germany, Italy, France, they generally take the approach of viewing it from the aspect of how can we use it to expand public services, or how can we preserve privacy. They really have a more controlled view of it. So in Africa now, what do we want? How do we view AI? We do not have like either a national or a continental perspective of AI. So we need to define that first. So when we define that, that will then determine how we invest in it. So for instance, now a country like Japan, because of their population decline, they will view AI as a way of augmenting their population to investing in robotics for the workplace. But we cannot be talking about robotics in the Nigerian workplace because we have an excess population of people who need jobs. We've not even provided jobs for the people, and you want to start bringing robots to Nigerian workplace. That's creating another problem. So that's where it comes. That's where it depends. Okay, yes, how can we use AI to do this?
All right. Okay.
How do we use AI for our own agriculture, our own transportation? So that's where I'm talking about. The government needs to, either the government or the EU, if it's at whatever level. My point is, we need an authority to define that this is what AI stands for in Nigeria or in West Africa or in Africa. And then from there, you can then use that. Okay, these are the laws we need to enact. These are the kinds of incentives that we would, these are the kinds of support we would provide. These are the kinds of innovations we would support when it comes to artificial intelligence. So
right. Thank you so much, Akintunde. This is one of the best discussions I've had on tech in a long time. I know we had an in-house discussion, which was not as much as it was not as detailed as this. And this is just AI. This is not even on other, this is just AI. So I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. What I'll be doing is I'll be putting the links, guys. If you're watching this, I'll be putting the links to their social media pages for data protection, for writer source, and is there anyone?
The podcast.
Fit and Proper podcast. So I'll be putting all the links down in the description below. Please do well to connect with them. Thank you so much, Akin. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this. I hope we can connect soon. Either you're coming all the way to where I am or I'm coming to where you are, and we sit over a cup of tea that you will be paying for. So thank you very much. Shout out once again to the Mavic set. We love you guys. Please, guys, if you're just watching this, please do well to subscribe, do well to like, do well to share, do well to hit the notification bell so whenever we drop any new content, you are going to be part of it. Also, what we'll do is, you guys have social media pages here.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we'll do, we will get all those details and we'll put them down in the description. Please, please, and please do well to connect with them on their social media handles. Thank you guys very, very much. Akintunde, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. God bless you. Thank you so
thank you. Well, it was fun also talking.
Thank you so much. It's almost 12 a.m. So God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Good night.
Thanks, man.